The stars look different from here. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Horizon and watched the viewscreen show empty space near Alpha Centauri. His ship had been traveling for 3 months to reach this spot. Earth Command had sent them to investigate strange signals coming from this area. The signals were not natural. Someone or something was making them. Jake was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been in space for 15 years. This mission felt different from all the others. The signals they detected were too organized to be random, too complex to be from any human ship. Earth had been listening to space for decades, but never heard anything like this. "Captain, we have something on sensors," said Lieutenant Amy Brooks from her station. She was young and excited about everything in space. This was her first deep space mission. Jake walked over to look at her screen. A small dot was moving toward them. It was still far away, but getting closer. The ship's computer was having trouble figuring out what it was made of. The readings kept changing. "How big is it?" Jake asked. "About the size of a football field, but sir, it's not like any ship design we know. The hull seems to be made of some kind of crystal, and it's giving off light." Dr. Lisa Warren looked up from her science station. She was the ship's expert on alien life, even though they had never found any before. "The light patterns are changing. It almost looks like the ship is trying to communicate." Jake felt his heart beat faster. First contact. Every space captain had dreamed of this moment. Every human had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they might have their answer. "All stop," Jake ordered. "Bring us to a safe distance. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we may have found something." The alien ship was beautiful. It looked like it was made of pure crystal that sparkled with colors that had no names. Blue light ran along its surface in waves. Green pulses followed the blue ones. The ship moved without any visible engines or thrust. "Captain," Amy said, "the ship is matching our speed and course. It's staying exactly 1,000 kilometers away from us." Jake nodded. The alien ship was being careful too. That was a good sign. If they wanted to attack, they would have done it already. "Sir," Dr. Warren said, "I'm reading massive energy signatures from their ship. Their technology is far beyond ours, but they're not charging weapons. The energy seems to be for something else." Jake opened the ship's communication system. He had practiced this moment many times in training. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth ship USS Horizon. We come in peace. Can you understand us?" For 10 minutes, nothing happened. Then the bridge filled with a sound like singing. It was beautiful and sad at the same time. The sound came from everywhere at once. "Greetings, small travelers," a voice said in perfect English. "I am Zephyrian of the Ethereal Collective. We have been watching your species for some time. We wish to speak with you." Jake felt his legs go weak. He sat down in his captain's chair. "We welcome this meeting, Zephyrian. This is a historic moment for our species." "Indeed," the alien replied. "We have traveled far to meet you. Your species interests us greatly. You are so different from other life we have encountered." Dr. Warren was recording everything. Her equipment was going crazy trying to analyze the aliens' communication method. "Captain, they're not using radio waves or any technology we understand. The voice is appearing directly in our minds." Jake realized she was right. He could hear Zephyrian's voice inside his head, not through his ears. It was telepathy, real telepathy. "How are you speaking to us?" Jake asked. "We share thoughts across the void," Zephyrian explained. "All members of the collective are connected. We are one mind in many forms. This is how we have always communicated." "We don't have that ability," Jake said. "Humans have individual minds. We can't share thoughts directly." There was a pause. Jake could feel surprise coming from the alien, like a wave of confusion washing over him. "Individual minds?" Zephyrian asked. "Each of you thinks alone? How do you function as a species? How do you make decisions? How do you share knowledge?" "Doctor." Warren leaned forward. "We use language and writing. We talk to each other and learn from books and computers." "Fascinating," Zephyrian said. "We must learn more about this." Your species has achieved space travel with individual consciousness. This should be impossible. Jake stood up. Would you like to meet in person? We could arrange a meeting on one of our ships. Yes, Zephyrion replied immediately. We will send a shuttle to your vessel. We are very curious about your individual minds. An hour later, a small crystal ship approached the USS Horizon. It was even more beautiful than the main ship. Light flowed through it like water. The shuttle docked with their ship without any problems. The alien technology seemed to adapt to their docking system automatically. Jake and his senior staff waited in the main conference room. The door opened and 3 figures entered. They looked like humans but were made of the same crystal material as their ships. Light pulsed under their skin. Their eyes glowed with soft blue light. I am Zephyrion, the leader said. These are my colleagues, Aurelius and Lyra. We are honored to meet you. Dr. Warren could not stop staring. Your energy beings inhabiting crystal forms? In a manner of speaking, Zephyrion replied, we are consciousness given form. We can exist in many states. This form allows us to interact with physical matter. Jake gestured to the table. Please sit. We have many questions for each other. The next several hours were amazing. The Zephyrians told them about their civilization. They lived in a collective consciousness where all thoughts and feelings were shared. They had no war, no crime, no suffering because everyone understood everyone else completely. They had been exploring the galaxy for thousands of years. We seek to understand other forms of consciousness, Zephyrion explained. Your species is unique. You have achieved so much while remaining separate from each other. We must study this phenomenon. What do you want to know? Jake asked. Everything, Zephyrion replied. But most importantly, we wish to experience human consciousness directly. We request permission to form a mental bridge with one of your people. The room went silent. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. What exactly does that mean? We would connect our consciousness with one of yours temporarily. We would experience your thoughts and feelings directly. This would help us understand your species better. Dr. Warren shook her head. That could be dangerous. We don't know what would happen if you connected with a human mind. We have done this with many species, Zephyrion assured them. It is safe. We only observe, we do not change anything. Jake knew this was a decision that would affect all of humanity. He needed to contact Earth Command. We need time to consider this request. It's not something we can decide quickly. Of course, Zephyrion said. We will wait, but we hope you will agree. This knowledge would benefit both our species. That night, Jake could not sleep. He kept thinking about the alien's request. What would happen if they let the alien into a human mind? What would the alien find there? And more importantly, what would happen to the human? 3 days passed while Jake waited for orders from Earth Command. The Zephyrians remained patient, sending friendly messages and sharing basic information about their technology. They seemed genuinely interested in peaceful contact. Their main ship stayed at a safe distance, but Jake could feel their excitement through their telepathic communications. The message from Earth finally came through on the quantum communicator. Jake read it 3 times before calling his senior staff to the conference room. The orders were clear but frightening. Earth Command has approved the alien's request, Jake announced. They want us to proceed with the mental bridge experiment. Dr. Warren looked shocked. Are they insane? We have no idea what could happen. They believe the potential benefits outweigh the risks, Jake replied. First contact with an advanced alien civilization could advance human knowledge by centuries. But they've given us strict conditions. Lieutenant Amy Brooks leaned forward. What conditions? The volunteer must be a trained scientist or military officer. Someone who can handle psychological stress. The experiment will be limited to 30 minutes maximum, and we must have complete medical monitoring throughout the process. Dr. Warren shook her head. 30 minutes might as well be 30 hours. We don't know how alien telepathy works. The volunteer could be permanently damaged. Jake had been thinking about this for days. I'll do it myself. No, Dr. Warren said. Immediately. You're needed to command the ship. If something goes wrong, we need you functional. Then who? Jake asked. Dr. Carl Peterson raised his hand. He was the ship's expert on brain science and also a former military officer. I volunteer. I've studied human consciousness my entire career. If anyone can handle this, it's me. Jake looked at the middle-aged scientist. Carl was calm and smart, but he also had a military background. He had served in the Mars conflicts before becoming a scientist. Are you sure about this? Yes, Carl replied. This is why I came on this mission. To push the boundaries of human knowledge. Besides, I understand the human mind better than anyone else here. That evening, Jake met with Zephyrian in the conference room. The alien's crystal form pulsed with soft blue light. We have a volunteer for the mental bridge, Jake said. Excellent, Zephyrian replied. Who will participate? Dr. Carl Peterson. He's our expert on human consciousness and a former soldier. He's volunteered to be the subject. Zephyrian's form flickered with what looked like excitement. A scientist. And warrior combined. How interesting. Your species continues to surprise us, Jake felt uneasy. What exactly will happen during the bridge? I will extend my consciousness into his mind, Zephyrian explained. I will experience his thoughts, memories, and emotions directly. This will help me understand how individual consciousness works. Will you see all of his memories? Only what is active in his mind during the connection. I do not dig deep unless invited. I am simply an observer. Jake nodded, but he still felt worried. And Dr. Peterson? What will he experience? He will feel my presence but remain in control. Some humans find it pleasant, others find it strange. But it should not harm him. The next morning, they prepared the medical bay for the experiment. Dr. Warren set up every monitoring device they had. Heart rate, brain activity, blood pressure, and oxygen levels would all be watched carefully. Carl lay on a medical bed with sensors attached to his head and chest. How do you feel? Jake asked. Carl smiled. Nervous, but excited. This is the most important experiment in human history. Zephyrian entered the medical bay. The alien's crystal form was brighter than usual. Are you ready, Dr. Peterson? I'm ready, Carl replied. I will begin slowly, Zephyrian said. Tell me if you feel any discomfort. Carl closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Zephyrian moved closer to the bed. The alien's form began to glow. Brighter, a soft humming sound filled the room. I can feel something, Carl said. Like a warm presence in my mind. That is me, Zephyrian replied. I am making the connection now. The monitors showed Carl's brain activity increasing. His heart rate went up slightly but stayed within normal ranges. Dr. Warren watched everything. Carefully. This is remarkable, Zephyrian said. Your mind is so complex, so many layers of thought and memory. Carl's face remained calm. What do you see? I see your recent memories. Your excitement about this mission. Your love of science. Your curiosity about the universe. Jake felt relieved. Everything seemed to be going well. Carl looked comfortable and the monitors showed no signs of distress. I see deeper memories now, Zephyrian continued. Your time as a soldier. The training. The discipline, but also fear and loss. Carl's face tightened slightly. Yes, I lost friends in the war. I feel their absence in your mind, Zephyrian said. How do you carry such pain while remaining functional? Humans learn to live with loss. Carl replied. We remember our dead but continue living. Fascinating, Zephyrian said. In the collective, we share all pain and joy. Individual suffering is unknown to us. The experiment continued for 15 minutes. Zephyrian explored Carl's surface thoughts and recent memories. The alien seemed amazed by human complexity and the ability to hold conflicting emotions simultaneously. I wish to go deeper, Zephyrian said. To understand the foundation of your consciousness. Be careful, Dr. Warren warned. We don't know. What's down there? I will be cautious, Zephyrian assured her. The alien's form grew brighter. The humming sound became louder. Carl's brain activity spiked on the monitors. I can feel you going deeper, Carl said. It's strange but not painful. Your mind has so many hidden layers, Zephyrian said. Memories buried beneath memories. Emotions. Connected to experiences from long ago. Jake watched the monitors carefully. Carl's vital signs were still normal, but his brain activity was unlike anything they had seen before. I see your childhood, Zephyrian said, the wonder and fear, the dreams and nightmares. But there is something else. Something darker. Carl's face grew pale. What do you mean? There are memories you have hidden from yourself. Painful experiences you have buried deep. Dr. Warren moved closer to the monitors. His stress levels are rising. Maybe we should stop. No, Carl said firmly. I want to understand what he's seeing. Zephyrian's form flickered. I see the war memories now, the real ones. The ones you... Do not let yourself remember. Carl's breathing became faster. Those memories are buried for a reason. But they are still there, Zephyrian said. They shape your thoughts and actions. How do you function with such trauma hidden in your mind? We learn to cope, Carl replied. We find ways to live with what we've done and seen. But the pain, Zephyrian said. The guilt. The anger. It's all there, burning beneath the surface. Carl's heart rate increased. Dr. Warren looked concerned. I think we should end this now. Wait, Zephyrian said. There is more, something deeper than personal memory. The alien's form began to pulse rapidly. The humming sound became discordant. What are you seeing? Jake asked. I don't understand. Zephyrian replied. There are memories that are not his own. Memories of things that happened before he was born. Carl opened his eyes. They looked distant and strange. You're seeing the collective human experience. The genetic memory we all carry. Impossible, Zephyrian said. Individual minds cannot hold collective memory. Human minds can, Carl replied. We carry the weight of our entire species' history, every war, every tragedy, every triumph. It's all there, buried deep in our consciousness. Zephyrian's form flickered more rapidly. I see it now, the violence, the hatred, the capacity for both creation and destruction. How do you contain such contradictions? We don't contain them, Carl said. We live with them. They make us who we are? But the darkness, Zephyrian said, so much darkness. Pain and suffering beyond imagination. The monitors showed Carl's brain activity reaching dangerous levels. Dr. Warren stepped forward. We need to stop this now, but it was too late. Something had changed in Zephyrian's form. The crystal structure was beginning to crack. The first crack appeared in Zephyrian's crystal form like a lightning bolt across blue sky. Light began to leak out of the fissure, not the gentle glow they had seen before, but harsh white light that hurt to look at directly, the humming sound. That had filled the medical bay turned into something painful and wrong. What's happening? Jake shouted over the noise. Dr. Warren was frantically checking her instruments. The aliens' energy readings are going off the charts. Something is overloading their system. Carl Peterson remained on the medical bed, his eyes closed but his face twisted in concentration. His brain activity was spiking beyond normal human levels. I can feel him in my mind, he said through gritted teeth. He's going too deep. He's seeing things that shouldn't be shared. More cracks appeared across Zephyrian's form. The beautiful crystal structure that had housed the alien consciousness was breaking apart. Light poured from every crack, and the harmonious humming became a discordant wail that made the humans cover their ears. The connection, Carl gasped. He's stuck in my memories. He can't get out? Jake moved toward the alien, but Dr. Warren grabbed his arm. Don't touch him. The energy discharge could kill you. Through the chaos they could hear Zephyrian's voice, but it was different now. The calm, melodious tone was gone, replaced by something broken and desperate. Cannot understand? The alien's voice echoed in their minds. Such pain, such violence, how do you live with this darkness? Zephyrian, Jake called out. You need to break the connection. Now, cannot, came the reply. Trapped in memories. So much death, so much suffering. Your species has done terrible things. Carl's monitors showed dangerous spikes in his vital signs. His body was responding to the alien's distress. He's seeing everything, Carl said. Not just my memories, but the collective human experience. The wars, the genocides, the centuries of violence. But that's not all we are, Jake said desperately. We're more than our worst moments. He can't see that, Dr. Warren said, studying her readings. The alien consciousness is designed for their peaceful collective. It can't process the contradictions. In human nature, the cracks in Zephyrian's form spread wider. The light bleeding from them was becoming unbearable. The aliens' voice in their minds was filled with anguish. Your minds contain such evil, Zephyrian said. Murder, torture, hatred. How do you function with such memories? Because we also contain good, Carl replied weakly. Love, compassion, sacrifice were not just one thing. Impossible, Zephyrian said. No consciousness can hold such opposing forces. It would tear itself apart. Jake watched in horror as the alien's form continued to deteriorate. Human minds are different from yours. We can hold contradictions. We can be both good and evil. No, Zephyrian said. I see your history. The wars that killed millions. The weapons that destroyed cities. The cruelty that knows no bounds. But I also see the love, Carl said, his voice growing stronger. The soldiers who died protecting others. The scientists who worked to heal disease. The artists who created beauty from pain. The contradictions are impossible, Zephyrian replied. Your minds should collapse under the weight of such opposing thoughts. Dr. Warren was working frantically at her station. I'm reading massive neural feedback. The alien's consciousness is experiencing what we call cognitive dissonance. Their mind can't accept the contradictions in human nature. We need to break the connection, Jake said, before it kills both of them. I'm trying, Dr. Warren replied. But the alien's technology is beyond our understanding. We can't force a disconnection. The noise in the medical bay was becoming unbearable. Equipment was starting to malfunction from the energy discharge. The lights flickered and several computer screens went dark. Zephyrian? Jake called out. You have to focus. Remember why you came here. You wanted to understand us. I cannot, the alien replied. The darkness in your minds is too much. How do you sleep knowing what your species has done? We learn to live with it, Carl said. We accept our flaws and try to be better. But the memories, Zephyrian said. The pain of those who suffered. The guilt of those who caused suffering. It's all there, burning in your consciousness. Yes, Carl replied, but so is the memory of those who helped. Those who sacrificed themselves for others. Those who chose love over hate. Jake could see that Zephyrian's form was failing. The crystal structure was more cracked than solid now. The alien was literally falling apart as its consciousness tried to process the complexity of human nature. Your species fights wars but also creates art, Zephyrian said. You kill but also heal. You destroy but also build. How is this possible? Because we choose, Carl said. Every day, every moment, we choose between good and evil. Most of us choose good most of the time. But the potential for evil remains, Zephyrian said. Always there, always possible. Yes, Carl replied. But that's what makes choosing good meaningful. If we couldn't choose evil, then choosing good would be meaningless. The alien's form flickered like a dying light bulb. I do not understand. In the collective, we are all good. We have no choice but to be good. Then you've never really been good, Carl said. You've just been incapable of evil. There was a moment of silence. Even the painful noise stopped. Zephyrian's form stabilized briefly. What do you mean? The alien asked. True goodness comes from choosing to do right when you could do wrong, Carl explained. Your species has never faced that choice. You've never had to overcome your darker impulses. But the pain, Zephyrian said, the memories of violence and hatred, how do you bear it? We bear it together, Jake said. We share the burden. We comfort each other. We work to prevent future suffering. But you also cause suffering, Zephyrian replied. Even now, there are humans causing pain to other humans. Yes, Carl admitted. But there are also humans working to stop that suffering. There are more good people than bad people in the world. How can you be certain? Zephyrian asked. Because we're still here, Carl replied. If there were more evil people than good, our species would have destroyed itself long ago. The fact that we've survived and reached for the stars proves that good is stronger than evil in humanity. The alien's form flickered again. The cracks were spreading faster now. I cannot process this information. The contradictions are too great. You don't have to understand us completely, Jake said. Just accept that we're different from you. Accept that complexity and contradiction are part of what makes us human. But how do you trust each other? Zephyrian asked. How do you cooperate when any individual might choose evil? We hope, Carl said simply. We hope that when the moment comes, people will choose to do the right thing. Most of the time they do. Hope, Zephyrian repeated. You base your civilization on hope? Hope and love, Carl replied. We love each other enough to keep trying to be better. The alien's form shuddered. The crystal structure was holding together by threads of light. I cannot contain this knowledge. It is too much for my consciousness. Then let it go, Carl said. Break the connection. Return to your collective. I cannot, Zephyrian said. The knowledge has changed me. I am no longer compatible with the collective. I have seen too much darkness. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. What does that mean? It means I am dying, Zephyrian replied calmly. My consciousness cannot survive outside the collective, and I cannot return to it while carrying this knowledge of human nature. No, Carl said. There has to be another way. There is not, Zephyrian said. But I understand now. Your species survives because you accept the darkness within yourselves. You acknowledge it and choose to overcome it. We could never do that. The alien's form began to collapse completely. The crystal structure crumbled, and the light inside grew dim. Remember us, Jake said desperately. Remember that we tried to be good. I will remember, Zephyrian said, his voice barely audible now. I will remember that humanity carries both light and darkness and somehow makes it work. The alien's form crumbled into a pile of dull crystal fragments. The light was gone. The humming had stopped. Zephyrian was dead. The medical bay fell silent except for the steady beeping of Carl's monitors. The crystal fragments that had once been Zephyrian lay scattered on the floor like broken glass. Some pieces still glowed faintly, but most had gone dark. The alien consciousness that had traveled across the galaxy to understand humanity was gone. Dr. Warren knelt beside the fragments, using a handheld scanner to examine them. There's still some energy in these pieces, she said quietly, but it's fading. Fast, Carl Peterson sat up slowly on the medical bed. His face was pale and his hands shook slightly. I can still feel him, he said. Like an echo in my mind. What do you mean? Jake asked. When the connection broke, something stayed behind. Not Zephyrian himself, but the experience of being connected to him. I can sense how different our minds are from theirs. Dr. Warren helped Carl to his feet. We need to run some tests. The telepathic connection might have changed your brain chemistry. I feel different, Carl admitted, more aware somehow. Like I can sense the thoughts and emotions of everyone around me. Jake felt a chill. Are you saying you're telepathic now? Not exactly, Carl replied. I can't read minds like Zephyrian could, but I can feel the emotions of people near me. Your worry, Dr. Warren's scientific curiosity, Lieutenant Brooks. Fear from the bridge. The implications were staggering. Had the alien's death somehow activated dormant telepathic abilities in Carl? Or was this just psychological trauma from the experience? We need to contact the other Zephyrians, Jake said. They need to know what happened. Dr. Warren shook her head. They already know? Look at the communication board. The alien ship had moved away from the USS Horizon. It was now positioned several light minutes away, much farther than before. The friendly telepathic communications had stopped completely. They're afraid of us, Carl said. I can sense their fear even from here. Jake walked to the communication. station and activated the quantum radio. "This is Captain Morrison calling the Zephyrian vessel. Please respond." For several minutes, there was no answer. Then a different voice spoke, not the warm tone they had grown used to from Zephyrian, but something cold and distant. "This is Aurelius of the Ethereal Collective. We are aware of what has occurred. Zephyrian has been lost to us." "We're sorry," Jake said. "We didn't know this would happen." "We understand," Aurelius replied. "The fault is not yours. We underestimated the complexity of human consciousness. Zephyrian was not prepared for what he found in your minds." Dr. Warren stepped forward. "What exactly did happen?" "From our perspective, it looked like Zephyrian couldn't handle the contradictions in human nature." "That is essentially correct," Aurelius said. "Zephyrian's consciousness was designed for harmony and peace. When he experienced the full range of human emotions and memories, particularly the capacity for both good and evil, his mind could not process the contradictions." Carl looked up from the medical bed. "He saw everything, didn't he? Not just my personal memories, but the collective human experience." "Yes," Aurelius replied. "Human minds contain what you might call genetic memory. The accumulated experiences of your species are stored in your subconscious." Zephyrian accessed these memories and was overwhelmed by the violence and suffering he found there. Jake felt a wave of guilt. "We should have warned you. We should have told you about the darker parts of human history." "It would not have mattered," Aurelius said. "We believed we could handle any form of consciousness. We were wrong." Dr. Warren was studying the crystal fragments again. "Can you save him? Is there any way to restore his consciousness?" "No," Aurelius replied. "Zephyrian's consciousness has been permanently damaged. The fragments you see are all that remains of him. They will fade completely within a few days." The loss hit Jake hard. They had caused the death of a being who had only wanted to understand them. "What happens now? Are you going to leave?" "We must," Aurelius said. "The collective has decided that direct contact with humanity is too dangerous. Your species represents a form of consciousness that we cannot safely interact with." "But we can learn from each other," Jake protested. "We can find ways to communicate without telepathic contact." "Perhaps," Aurelius said, "but not now. The collective needs time to process what has happened. We must reconsider everything we thought we knew about consciousness." Carl struggled to his feet. "Wait, before you go, I need to tell you something. Zephyrian's death wasn't meaningless. He learned something important about humanity." "What did he learn?" Aurelius asked. "That our capacity for evil is what makes our capacity for good meaningful," Carl said. "We choose to be good despite our ability to be evil. That's something your species has never experienced." There was a long pause. Jake could sense the alien collective discussing this revelation among themselves. "We do not understand," Aurelius finally said. "How can the ability to do evil enhance the ability to do good?" Carl closed his eyes, trying to find the right words. "Because choice requires alternatives. If you can only be good, then being good is not a choice. It's just your nature. But if you can choose between good and evil, then choosing good becomes an act of will." "But why would any being choose evil?" Aurelius asked. "Sometimes they do," Carl admitted. "That's the tragedy of human nature. But most of the time, people choose good. They choose to help instead of harm, to love instead of hate, to build instead of destroy." "Yet your history is filled with violence and suffering," Aurelius pointed out. "Yes," Carl said, "but it's also filled with love and sacrifice. For every act of violence, there are 1,000 acts of kindness. For every person who chooses evil, there are hundreds who choose good." Jake listened to this exchange with growing wonder. Carl was explaining something about humanity that even humans didn't fully understand. The conversation with the alien had somehow given him insights into human nature that were profound and disturbing. "Your species is a paradox," Aurelius said. "You contain both the highest good and the deepest evil within the same consciousness. That's what makes us human," Carl replied. "We're not perfect like you. We struggle with our nature every day. But that struggle is what makes us strong." Strong enough to survive in a hostile universe, Jake added. Strong enough to reach for the stars despite our flaws. Another long pause. The alien collective was clearly struggling to understand this concept. We will consider your words, Aurelius finally said. But we cannot risk further contact. Your minds are too dangerous for us. Dangerous? Jake asked. How are we dangerous? Because you might change us, Aurelius replied. If we continue to interact with your species, we might begin to understand your contradictions. We might begin to experience them ourselves. That would destroy the harmony of the collective. Carl opened his eyes. Maybe that wouldn't be such a bad thing. For us, it would be catastrophic, Aurelius said. We are not designed to handle internal conflict. We would tear ourselves apart. Jake realized the true scope of what had happened. Humanity had encountered an alien species that was so different from them that meaningful contact was impossible. The Zephyrians couldn't handle human complexity, and humans couldn't exist in the Zephyrian collective. Will you tell other species about us? Jake asked. We will warn them, Aurelius said. Humanity will be classified as a hazardous species. Other telepathic races will be advised to avoid contact with you. But non-telepathic species might still make contact, Dr. Warren pointed out. Perhaps, Aurelius agreed. But most advanced species develop telepathy eventually. You are unique in maintaining individual consciousness while achieving space travel. The communication fell silent. Jake could sense that the aliens were preparing to leave. Their beautiful crystal ship was already moving away, heading back toward the depths of space. Goodbye, Jake said. We're sorry for what happened to Zephyrian. Do not apologize, Aurelius replied. Zephyrian chose to make the connection. He died learning something new about consciousness. In the collective, that is considered an honorable death. The communication ended. On the view screen, they watched the alien ship accelerate away from them. Its crystal hull caught the light of Alpha Centauri and scattered it into rainbow patterns. Within minutes, it had disappeared into the void between stars. Jake stood in the empty medical bay. Looking at the crystal fragments on the floor, they was still glowing faintly, but the light was growing dimmer. Dr. Warren, collect those pieces. They're all we have left of our first contact with an alien species. Dr. Warren carefully gathered the fragments into a containment field. What should we do with them? Create a memorial, Jake said. Zephyrian died trying to understand us. The least we can do is remember him. Carl was still sitting on the medical bed, staring at his hands. Captain, I need to tell you something. The telepathic connection changed me. I can sense things about people that I couldn't before. What kind of things? Jake asked, emotions mostly, basic thoughts sometimes. But it's not just that. I can sense the complexity of human minds now. The layers of consciousness that Zephyrian found so overwhelming. Dr. Warren looked up from her work. We need to study this. If the alien contact has awakened telepathic abilities in humans, it could change everything. Carl shook his head. It's not telepathy like theirs, it's more like enhanced empathy. I can feel what others feel, but I can't share thoughts directly. That might be better. 5 years had passed since the USS Horizon returned to Earth with news that changed everything humanity thought about their place in the universe. The crystal fragments that had once been Zephyrian now sat in a place of honor at the United Earth Space Command headquarters. They no longer glowed, having finally faded to dull gray, but they remained as a reminder of the day humanity learned. They were too complex for some species to understand. Captain Jake Morrison stood before the memorial, reading the inscription. He had written, "To Zephyrian of the ethereal collective who died seeking to understand the human heart." Below that were the words that have become humanity's unofficial motto. We are complex, and that is our strength. Still visiting him? Dr. Lisa Warren approached from behind. She now headed the new department of Xenopsychology at Earth Command. Every time I'm here, Jake replied, I keep wondering what he would think of what we've become. Dr. Warren nodded toward the busy corridor outside the memorial room. Probably amazed. We've changed a lot since his death. She was right. The revelation that human minds were dangerous to telepathic species. had sparked a revolution in human psychology and philosophy. Scientists had begun studying the unique nature of human consciousness with new intensity. Philosophers debated what it meant to be a species that could hold contradictory thoughts and emotions simultaneously. "How is Carl doing?" Jake asked. "Better than ever," Dr. Warren smiled. "His enhanced empathy has made him the most effective therapist on Earth. He's helped thousands of people accept their own psychological complexity." Dr. Carl Peterson had become something of a celebrity after the alien contact. His ability to sense and understand human emotions had led to breakthroughs in treating mental illness, resolving conflicts, and helping people understand themselves. He had written books about the beauty of human contradiction and the strength that came from accepting all aspects of human nature. "Any word from the Zephyrians?" Jake asked. "Nothing direct," Dr. Warren replied. "But we've detected their ships in distant systems. They're still out there, still avoiding us." The Zephyrians had kept their word. They classified humanity as a hazardous species and warned other telepathic races to avoid contact. This had led to an interesting side effect. Only non-telepathic species were willing to make contact with humans. "The Corvan delegation arrives next week," Dr. Warren continued. "They're very excited to meet us," Jake smiled. The Corvans were a mechanical species that had evolved from artificial intelligence. They had no biological minds at all, which made them immune to the psychological complexity that had destroyed Zephyrian. In fact, they found human mental contradictions fascinating rather than dangerous. "What about the others?" Jake asked. "The rock-based lithoids want to establish trade relations. The energy beings from Vega are interested in our art and music. And the hive mind insects from Proxima want to study how we cooperate without shared consciousness." It was ironic. The very trait that made humans dangerous to advanced telepathic species made them incredibly interesting to non-telepathic ones. Humanity had become known throughout the galaxy as the complex species beings who could hold opposing thoughts and emotions while remaining functional. "Have you heard the latest reports from the frontier?" Dr. Warren asked. Jake nodded. Human exploration ships were now equipped with new protocols for first contact. They carried detailed psychological profiles of the crew and warnings about human mental complexity. Some species welcomed this information. Others fled immediately upon learning about human nature. "The Meridian Collective wants to hire human negotiators," Dr. Warren said. "Apparently, our ability to understand multiple perspectives simultaneously makes us excellent mediators. And the Stellar Confederation? They're still debating whether to classify us as dangerous or valuable. Our complexity confuses them, but they're intrigued by our problem-solving abilities." Jake walked over to the large window that looked out over Earth Command's courtyard. Below, humans of every nationality and background worked together on humanity's expansion into the galaxy. The diversity that had once caused conflicts was now seen as one of humanity's greatest strengths. "Zephyrian was right about one thing," Jake said. "We are a paradox. We fight wars but write poetry. We create weapons, but also create art. We can hate and love the same person." "But that's what makes us adaptable," Dr. Warren replied. "We can understand any situation because we've experienced every emotion ourselves," a young officer approached them. Lieutenant Amy Brooks, now promoted to commander, carried a data pad with the latest reports from deep space. "Captain Morrison." "Dr. Warren, I have an update from the exploration fleet." "What's the news?" Jake asked. "The USS Discovery has made contact with a new species. They call themselves the Empathic Union. They're telepathic, but only with emotions, not thoughts." Dr. Warren raised an eyebrow. "That sounds promising. How did they react to learning about human nature?" "They were fascinated," Amy replied. "Apparently, they've never encountered a species that can feel contradictory emotions simultaneously. They want to study us." Jake felt a familiar mix of excitement and caution. "Are they requesting a consciousness bridge like Zephyrian did?" "No." Amy said they learned about what happened to Zephyrian from the Galactic Communication Network. They want to try a different approach, emotional resonance instead of mind reading. That might actually work, Dr. Warren said thoughtfully. If they can only sense emotions, they won't be overwhelmed by the complexity of human thoughts and memories. Jake looked back at Zephyrian's memorial. What do you think he would say about this? Dr. Warren considered the question. I think he would be proud. His sacrifice taught us something important about ourselves. We learned that our complexity isn't a flaw to be hidden, but a strength to be celebrated. And it opened the door to new kinds of relationships with alien species, Amy added. Species that can appreciate our complexity rather than being destroyed. Buy it, Jake smiled. Maybe that was always the plan. Maybe the universe needed a species like us, beings complex enough to bridge the gap between all the other forms of consciousness out there. They stood in comfortable silence, looking at the memorial to the alien who had died trying to understand the human mind. His death had taught humanity that they were unique in the galaxy, perhaps uniquely suited to interact with the incredible diversity of life among the stars. The irony is beautiful, Dr. Warren said finally. The trait that killed Zephyrian, our psychological complexity, has become our greatest diplomatic asset? Jake nodded. We're the species that can understand everyone because we contain everyone within ourselves. The lover and the fighter, the creator and the destroyer, the saint and the sinner. All in the same mind, Amy added. All at the same time. As they left the memorial, Jake took one last look at the crystal fragments. They were dark now, but they had served their purpose. They had taught humanity that being complex wasn't a weakness. It was their greatest strength. In the years since Zephyrian's death, humanity had established contact with dozens of species. Some were frightened by human complexity and chose to avoid contact. Others were fascinated and wanted to learn from it. And a few, like the upcoming empathic union, saw it as an opportunity for new kinds of understanding. The galaxy was vast and full of different forms of consciousness. Telepathic collectives like the Zephyrians, hive minds like the insect species, from Proxima, artificial intelligences like the Corvans, energy beings who existed as pure thought, and countless others yet to be discovered, but among all these different forms of consciousness, humanity remained unique. They were the only species that could hold contradictory thoughts and emotions simultaneously. The only ones who could love and hate the same person, who could create beauty from pain, who could choose good while retaining the capacity for evil. It made them dangerous to some species, but it also made them invaluable to others. As Jake walked through the corridors of Earth Command, he passed displays showing humanity's growing influence in the galaxy. Trade agreements with dozens of species, joint exploration missions, cultural exchanges, and in the center of it all, humans serving as mediators, translators, and bridges between species that couldn't understand each other. The human mind that had killed Zephyrian with its complexity was now saving relationships between alien species. The contradictions that had torn apart the aliens' consciousness were helping to build a new kind of galactic civilization. Zephyrian had died learning about humanity. But in dying, he had taught humanity something even more valuable, that their greatest weakness was also their greatest strength, and that the complexity of the human heart was exactly what the galaxy needed.